Well, I'm excited, man. Thanks for having me on. And I'm really excited because I've taught a lot of these pieces in separate different places. And this is the first time I've ever kind of taught it all together. So it should be kind of fun. My screen looks like a mess right now because I have everything open you're going to learn about today. But then I'll make it more organized here in a minute. So it should be kind of cool. All right. So we've got about 2 hours. That's what Joel gave me, which will be kind of fun to go through a bunch of stuff. And I'm going to be showing you guys, first off, what I call my perfect webinar. And then I'll be breaking down the perfect webinar funnel. I'm going to show you guys the pages in our webinar funnels. I'm going to show you guys my actual webinar. It'll be fun. I got nothing to hide. So I'm going to show you guys anything and everything you want. If you have questions, then feel free to ask me throughout. I'll be looking at the questions here as well. But I'm just going to go in and we should have a lot of fun, you guys. So I'm excited for this and excited for Joel putting this whole thing on. All right, so to begin with, so we're going to start over here with the perfect webinar. How many of you guys have ever seen this before? I'm going to make it big so you has the whole screen. This is the focus of right now. All right, so this is the perfect webinar. And some backstory on this. This is something that I didn't really invent it myself. It was initially, actually let me step back even further. So when I first got in this business, I wanted to be an internet nerd, right? That's all I knew. That's all I understood. And I was online trying to sell things. It was really cool. And one day there was this guy who was one of my early mentors, someone I really looked up to. His name was Armin Morin, and he was talking about he had this seminar at the time called the Big Seminar. And it was an internet marketing seminar where you could come and learn how to be an internet marketer. I'm like, well, I'm doing internet marketing. It'd be cool to see how to grow it. Plus, it'd be cool to actually meet other entrepreneurs. I'm not sure about you guys, but I always said that being an entrepreneur is the loneliest job in the world, right? There's nobody that really gets you. Half the times, your spouses don't understand what you're doing. Your friends don't. You're the weird guy, right? And so I didn't have any friends I could relate with. So I'm like, I can go somewhere. I think it was $2,000 for a ticket. I can go $2,000. I can go and spend this time and get to know other entrepreneurs and just hang out. I was so excited. So I went to this event, and when we got there, I think there's about 500 people in the room. And I get there the first day, and I got my notepad out, my laptop, and I'm so excited. And first speaker gets up there, and he starts talking, and he speaks for about 90 minutes. And then when he's done, he tells everyone to go in the back of the room and to sign up for his program, which I think was $2,000. And I was like, that was weird. But then all of a sudden I looked around, and I saw all these people popping up all around the room, turn around and running to the back, and then throwing money at this guy. And I remember I wasn't that good at math, but I looked back and I started doing the math. I was like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, whatever. I was like, that guy just made $60,000. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And then next speaker gets up, and he's selling a $5,000 package, and he's an even better salesperson. He goes through the whole pitch. And at the end of it, everyone runs to the back and starts buying again. I'm doing 5, 10, 15, 20. I'm like, that guy just made $100,000. The next speaker. And for 3 days, I watched this. And at the time, I know some people don't believe me when I say this, but at the time, I was a shy, awkward, nervous kid who just wanted to hide behind a computer, didn't dare to talk in front of people, didn't dare to do any of that stuff. But I was like, after seeing that over and over and over again, I'm like, I got to learn how to do this because that was amazing. I'd never seen someone make $100,000 in 90 minutes before. And I'm like, if that's possible, then I got to figure out how to do it. So it kind of started my whole my journey to kind of figure this stuff out. And back then, it was before webinars were ever even thought of. We were using teleseminars initially, and so I started kind of testing things out. I'm going to do a teleseminar because I don't have to talk to people or dress up. So starting these little teleseminars to my little list I had at the time. And at first I'd get on a teleseminar, I would just talk for an hour and then try to sell people stuff. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And it was cool because every week or so I'd do a teleseminar, and I would try different things. I would try something weird, and I would try this and try that. And some things just didn't work, and some things worked really good. And eventually I kind of started seeing okay, when I do things like this, people buy. When I do things like this, nobody buys, right? And again, I was never a good student, but I liked money, and I liked when something worked that I was going to make money. I wanted to do that again. So I started watching and noticing what was working. And about that time, this guy named Alex Mandossian, who's still just one of the most brilliant marketers I've ever met, he had this course called Teleseminar Secrets. And I remember it was $1,000, and they did this big whole product launch. And they did it through teleseminars, funny enough. So I'm listening in day after day after day to all these teleseminars from everyone trying to help him sell his course. And I was like so nervous. I'm like, $1,000, that's a lot of money. Do I dare to do it? Do I not dare to do it? And finally, one of my friends said, Russell, how many teleseminars have you done? I was like, I don't know, like 15 or something. He's like, how much money do you make on all of them? I was like, each one makes anywhere from, 1,000 up to, $8,000 or $9,000 or whatever it was at the time. I don't remember. And he said, if you made one or two extra sales from one teleseminar, from one idea you get from this course, like it would be like that pays your $1,000 back, and then they have everything. From that point forward, everything else is free money. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Like it's $1,000. Why am I freaking out about this? Like I sell people stuff all the time. Like if I'm gonna be a good at good selling stuff, I got to become good at purchasing things as well. So I put I risked it. I bought the thing and I went through this whole teleseminar course. And what was cool is it was the first time I'd ever thought about like the process. Like when someone's on the phone, what do you actually say, and in what order do you say it, and how do you do it? Prior to that, I would just get on, I would just talk, and I would teach, and I would just whatever came to my head, I would do. And he kind of started talking about like his script and like how he would do things. So I was like, so I started kind of taking some of those ideas and implementing them into what I was doing for my presentation and on my teleseminars, and I had some increased success. I was like, wow, these were cool, like these really good ideas. And he had ideas everywhere from how to get people on the teleseminar to closing on the teleseminar to what happened afterwards, which a lot of what I do now was inspired from that initially almost a decade ago. And so again, you guys will see a lot of that over the next 2 hours with some of the stuff I'll be sharing with you. But that was kind of my first time ever where I said step back, started thinking about this process. I remember doing one teleseminar with this guy named Mike Chen. And before I did the teleseminar, Mike got on with me to kind of prep me for the teleseminar. And I remember one thing powerful he taught me. He said, look, when I sell my product, he said, these are the 3 questions that everybody has. Number 1 was, why does it cost so much? Why does it, whatever. And he had the 3 questions. He said, what I need you to do is during the teleseminar, I need you to ask me these questions in this way. It's like, you need to phrase them the exact same way I give them to you. And then the first question was like, hey, Mike, so, with all the features that are inside this software, I can't believe you're only selling it for $300. He said, and why did you do that? And he had me ask the question that way because he knew that in people's heads they're like, well, $300 is a lot. But then they hear me say, wow, with everything that's in this, why are you only selling it for $300? Like, why is it so cheap? And suddenly it changes their perspective, right? And so he had me do that. And there's 2 other questions. I can't remember what they were now, but 2 other questions the same way that addressed his main concerns. And we did that. And that teleseminar was the first teleseminar I ever had that broke 5 figures. I think I made $17,000 or $18,000 on it, which for me was just insane. Like that was more money than I ever dreamt of. And it came in one, back then, 60-minute call. And so I just became like, I was just like, this stuff is awesome. A little while later, one of my friends, Mike Philsame, some of you guys know him, he invited me to come out to one of his events and come and speak on internet marketing. And so I'm like, sure. Like I'd never done that before. Only event I'd ever been to was Armin's a couple months earlier. So I kind of seen that. And he said, when you come, I want you to sell something. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can sell some stuff. And again, I'd been doing these teleseminars, so I had a little bit of knowledge, but I still didn't really get it yet. And I remember thinking, when I was at Armin's event, like I knew more about internet marketing than any of the guys who were up there speaking. I was like, I'm going to go to this event and I'm going to teach all my best. Like I'm just going to blow their minds. Like I will give them so much value that they will run to the back room. They're going to give me money. Okay, because like I'm gonna out teach everybody else, and that was my thought going to this thing. And so I spent weeks and weeks preparing this presentation, which is if you know me, that's not really my style. I'm a lot more like just kind of off the seat of my pants. But I prepared and I prepared and I prepared and I created. I still think to this day it was one of my best presentations ever. And it taught some of the most amazing things in internet marketing in a really simple format. And I did the presentation. At the end of it, I tried to sell my product. And again, I put the word tried in there because I tried to sell my product. And I did my little pitch at the end, just like I'd seen other speakers do from stage. And I did it, and nothing. Nobody moved. Like I could literally hear the crickets in the audience. And I'm looking out over this room of about 200 people. And I'm just like embarrassed and devastated and like freaked out. And I just done my pitch. It's pitch, completely quiet. No one's talking. There's no music playing. It's just kind of dead. And I'm done. I'm like, no, what do I do? Like how? Like I got to walk to the back of the room over there. And I was like so scared because I'm like, that's a long It's a long walk away. I walked through all these people, and it was like the walk of shame. So I'm walking back there all awkwardly, and people are starting to get up in their seats, and people came back and started asking me questions. And a couple of things. One thing, people said, and that was the most amazing presentation I ever saw. Like tons, probably 20% of the room told me that, and then they walked away, and they didn't buy. None of them bought. None of them bought. And I was like, how in the world? Like, what I taught was so amazing. Like, it was everything they needed to be successful. Like, why in the world are they not buying my thing? And I was so confused. And I was embarrassed, honestly. So I shook hands, talked to a couple people really quick, and then I went to my hotel room. And I was so embarrassed, I literally did not leave my hotel room for the next 3 days. I locked myself in the room, and I just watched cable TV, ordered room service, and I did not once leave the room the rest of the trip. I remember being so depressed and so embarrassed. I did not want to see anyone else at the event because I was so embarrassed. And so I'm hiding in my room, and then I was like, in my head, I was like, I will never ever be a public speaker again. That was so painful, so horrible, and I made $0 out of it. I had to pay my own way here, pay my own hotel. I didn't make a penny. I lost money. Why would I ever do this again? And so I walked away from it, and I did for a while. And I kept doing teleseminars, which were working, and I kept getting better and better at those. I started implementing some of these things we'll talk about here in a minute. Got better and better at it, but I didn't want to speak again. And a couple months later, I got another invite to speak at another event, and I told them no, and they kept asking me, and finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna come. I did the same thing, prepared an amazing presentation. I'm like, okay, this time, like, and I'd kind of done like a basic, the way I'd kind of sold it at the end, the last time kind of bad. So I was like, I'm gonna change how I do my pitch. I was like, I feel like last time I was insulting their intelligence. I was trying to do it like how the other speakers do, and I'm like, that's not me. Like, I'm just gonna be like straight up. So I go to the guy's event, stand up on stage, and his room is a little smaller, maybe 100, 150 people, and I do my presentation. At the end of it, these are my words, and I'm so, like, looking back on it now, it's funny to me, but I said, I'm not going to do what the other speakers do and insult your intelligence with talking about what this is worth and dropping the price. I'm just going to tell you what the price is. It's $997, and you've gone through this training. You know how valuable it is. It's going to be more of this, and you need to meet me in the back of the room to sign up. And I ended, and same thing, crickets. I'm like, this is horrible. I have so much pain associated with this. I don't want to do this again. And finally, I'm like, but other people are doing it. Like, I got to figure out what in the world other people are doing to figure out how they're doing it, because it works. Obviously, it works. I'm not that dumb. I got to be able to figure it out. Maybe there's something I can do. And so, again, that's 10 years ago now. Seems crazy that whole experience happened. And so by the time I started thinking, well, who is doing it good? And I started looking around some of the people I was learning from and some of the mentors I had and stuff like that. And one of my top mentors was a guy named Dan Kennedy. And I went to one of his events, and again, I saw the same thing. People run to the back, and I was like, this is so cool. And so I went back to the back of the room. They have all their courses they sell, and they had two different public speaking courses. One was Dan Kennedy's public speaking course, and one was Bill Glazer's. So I bought both of them. I'm like, I got to figure this stuff out. So I'm listening to these courses, and there's one like resounding theme I keep hearing throughout the whole thing with their courses. And the thing they kept saying over and over and over again says, look, you as a teacher, right? Like, you want to go up there and teach and give and share. So the problem is you're doing your audience a huge disservice, because there's no way in 90 minutes you can change someone's life. Like, you can't give them the tools and the training and everything they need to be successful. He said your only job, your only responsibility during that 90 minutes is to inspire them and give them belief that what you are able to do will work for them. That's it. Okay, so let me repeat that. Your job in that 90 minutes is to inspire them and to give them belief that what it is that you are selling can help them. Okay, that's it. So if you can inspire them and if you can give them a belief that what you have will help them, they will give you money. That's it. Okay, you impressing them with how much you know, how good of a teacher you are first off, not going to help them, because they're going to leave with an incomplete, understanding to be able to implement what you showed them. And second off, they're not going to give you money. Okay? And so he kept saying that over and over and over again. And I was like, that seems so backwards from logic. For me, it should be like, whoever gets the most value gets the most money, right? And that's true in parts of life, but not in a webinar or a stage pitch. When you're selling, it's different. And so I said, you know what? Fine. I'm going to just trust these guys. And so I started learning how they were doing their stuff, and I watched their presentations, and I modeled what they were doing. I went to my next event, had my new presentation where instead of teaching a whole bunch of stuff, I was trying to inspire them and give them belief that what I had to sell could help them, and did my first pitch. And I still remember I sold 6 people $1,000 a pop, $6,000, which again, it was a lot of money. I was just like, boom, like, okay, this is working now. Now I got a working model. How to make this better? Like, what can I do and how can I make this better? And so I started going through a whole bunch of other people's public speaking trainings. And let me step back, not public speaking training, because that's, in my mind, a bad thing. Like, it's not public speaking like how to be polished and clean, right? If you hear my webinars, you hear me even right now, like I stutter, I say things wrong. But man, I can get in front of a stage and I can close a room. Like, I know how to do that now. It's not from speaking eloquently. It's from understanding the right way to give a presentation. Okay. And so I started going there and I study I spent tens of thousands of dollars on different people's speaking courses. I found the best people, guys like Ted Thomas. And I learned this whole concept called trial closing from Ted Thomas, which I'll probably talk about later on in the perfect webinar. So he taught me trial closes. Added that to our webinars. We saw an increase where we were averaging $9 per webinar registrant. It jumped it to over $16 per registrant just by adding in trial closes, not changing anything else in the pitch besides adding in trial closes. It went to, I'm going to blank out on their names. Ron LeGrand, who's a real estate guy, went to his public speaking training and learned how he did it. Learned from so many people. Anyway, started going through it, and I still remember the biggest thing I learned, though, and I'll share this with you guys. I'll walk you through how it all works. I was at a Dan Kennedy event, and Armin Morin, the guy who ran the big seminar, my very first seminar I went to, was speaking, and he gets up on stage, and he's selling the $1,000 thing, and he literally closed over, like, I don't know, it was like $400,000 or $500,000 in sales. Like, it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And I was just watching it. It was like watching someone do art, right? Like, they're painting. It was just the most amazing thing in the world. And I'm watching this, and afterwards, like, I'm kind of lingering around because I want to talk to him and just tell him, like, how cool he is. And I was speaking at his event 2 weeks later. First time I'd ever spoken in the big seminar, which I was excited for because that was my first event I ever went to, right? And so he does his pitch, and he makes all the money, and then at the end of it, everyone's talking, and they finally leave, and he walks up to me. He's got this stack of order forms that, like, it looked like when you go to Staples and you buy a big old block of paper. That's what it looked like. And he held that up and he said, "Hey, Russell, you want a stack of order forms like this?" I'm like, heck yeah, man. Like, I would love to make $500,000 in 90 minutes like you just did. And he said, "There's one thing you got to learn." I'm like, all right, what's that? And he said, it's a concept I call the stack. I said, okay, what's that mean? He said, he walked back to his presentation. He said, "Did you see how I did this thing?" He walked me through what he did. And yeah, that was kind of cool. He said, "In 2 weeks, when you speak at my event," he's like, when you close, do the stack. If you do the stack, you will be rich. If you don't, you're going to bomb. And I was like, okay. And the way he kind of showed it to me, I was like, well, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, and I'm going to show you guys it here in a minute, but I was like, that's kind of embarrassing. He's like, just do it. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't want to screw this up. Like, this is Armin Moore. And like, I was so scared, right? So I did my presentation and I just modeled his stack as close as I could remember it. Went to his event 2 weeks later and did over $100,000 in sales from the stage. Like, by far the biggest. Like, I had a table rush, people sprinting to the back. And I was like, man, that is amazing. So I started adding the stack into my webinar presentations, and it just crushed it every time. Boom, like clockwork, just crushed it. And after a while, though, I remember I thought I was too smart for the stack. And I'm like, you know what? That's embarrassing. Like, I don't like doing it. So I pulled it out of a presentation. First time in my life I ever blanked on a webinar. Didn't make a single sale. And I was like, you know what? This is the lesson to me. I will never, ever, ever sell again from a webinar or stage presentation without the stack. Like, this is my hard, fast rule. I will stack every single time. And as I've shown my students and people the stack, like, it works like magic every time. Like, and every time people tell me, first time I was really embarrassed, and then they do it, and then they make a bunch of money, and suddenly they're not embarrassed anymore. It's really weird. We had a big event last week here, and Rob Four, some of you guys may know Rob. He was here, and we were talking about webinar funnels, and he raises his hand. He's kind of grumpy. He's like, Russell, I have some bad news for you. Probably good for you, but bad for me. He's like, I learned your perfect webinar, and I thought it was the stupidest thing I ever heard. So 2 weeks ago, or whatever, 3 weeks ago, I did a webinar to my list, and I did it my way, which was the better way, the right way. And I made 2 sales, and I was really depressed. And so I went back and I put the stack in, like you said. And it was so embarrassing. I did the same webinar to the same list who'd already seen the same offer, but hadn't bought. And did it again. We made 17 sales. All he did was just change it by adding in the stack. Like, it's magic, okay? And I'm giving you these ideas because I want to pre-sell and get you excited about this. We're going to go through all the content here in a minute, but I want you to understand, like, this wasn't something I just made up overnight. Like, this is 10 years of me learning from all these different people and bringing pieces in and trying things and testing things. And And that's what this has become. The perfect webinar came from that. One other kind of backstory of a cool thing that I learned, which will kind of tie more into the webinar sequences we'll talk about during the second hour. But when I was at Armin's event, he kind of pulled me aside before I spoke, and he's like, I'm going to teach you one thing that'll double your sales. I'm like, all right, what's that? And he said, the biggest thing that'll impact your sales at an event, outside of doing the presentation right, he says, is how the host of the event, how they introduce you. I'm like, really? He's like, yep. He's like, if I go to an event and he's like, and the host like introduces me bad, he's like, the presentation will bomb. He said, if they come in and they introduce me the right way, then it's just we'll make a bunch of money. And so what he started doing was actually manipulating how the introduction happened, like what was said during that introduction to get him. So he would make a video ahead of time, so he'd watch the video and then he'd come on stage, so he could control that pre-frame. And it's the same thing with the webinar. I'll show you guys through the funnel, but by us positioning the funnel the way we do, I'm pre-framing that. So when someone shows up on the webinar, they're already predisposed to buy. Most people, when they show up on the webinar, and my webinars right now close consistently at 15% every single time, which I've heard people brag about numbers are higher, but I've never seen anyone's numbers who actually will be willing to show me their numbers. We close 15% every single time on a live webinar, and then from stage, we get pretty close to 50% every single time when I'm speaking on stage. So again, these numbers work and the process works, and that's why it's so awesome. So anyway, with that said, did I pre-frame that for you guys? Are you excited to learn about this now? I hope. All right, cool. So with all that said, I always try to take these complex processes, right? All these things that we do, and like, how do I simplify them? Like, I'm not like the smartest dude in the room. I understand that. Like, I didn't do that great in college. I didn't do that great in school. But one thing I'm really, really good at is taking these super complex things and trying to build out something that I can look at and then remember things instantly, really, really quick, over and over and over again. Okay. And so that's what this perfect webinar is. Every time I would tweak it and find new things and build new things and change things, I would come back and I would keep adding to this graphic until it became what it kind of is. And this template right here, in the last less than, I think, 10 months, the last 10 months, this template here has made me personally over $10 million. I know it's made a bunch of our students, like Liz Benny learned about it about a year ago. I think that she just passed $600,000 in sales from her perfect webinar. I can go person after person after person. Like if someone came to me, and I've had people ask me, it's like, Russell, what would you do if you lost your email list and you lost all your friends and you lost everything and you had to start over from scratch today and you need to become a millionaire as quick as possible? What would you do? And you only have $1,000 in your pocket or whatever, right? I always tell them the exact same thing. Like I said, first thing I would do is I would print out the perfect webinar script. Then I would open up PowerPoint. I'd find a product I like. I would build out the perfect webinar around that product. I would go to Facebook. I'd spend $1,000 in Facebook ads driving to the perfect webinar, and then I would make my first sales. And whatever that gets, that first money, that's I take that money, reinvest in more ads, reinvest in more ads, reinvest in more ads, and within a few months I'd be a millionaire again. Like, that's it. So if you guys want to know like what my secret is, like, it's this. Like, I'm not holding anything back from you guys. Like, this is it. It just works. And it's been tested over and over and over again. Okay, so there's a perfect webinar. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through that. There's basically there's three parts here in the perfect webinar. There's the introduction, which this is what we talked about, like the pre-frame, like everything you're doing before, like right when someone gets on a webinar, to capture their attention and make sure they show up. Okay, the biggest drop-off rates in webinars are two spots. One is the first 10 minutes, and number two is right when you transition to your close. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys things to do to strengthen those and keep people on. So first is the introduction, next is the content section, and then the last is the close, is the stack, is how we close it out. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you guys through all three pieces of that. Okay, so the first is the introduction. Now, the biggest thing about the introduction is you cannot be boring. Okay, I used to do webinars and teleseminars when I first got started. It's funny, I've listened to some of my old teleseminars, and I was just like a shy, nervous kid. So I get on, I'm like, hey everyone, can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, chat in the box over there. Okay, hey, my name is Russell. And anyway, and I would just kind of like, I was so nervous. I probably lost half my audience before I even got to like anything cool. Okay, you have to change that. When someone gets on a webinar, it's weird. Like, think about, like, you're in your home office and you get on this thing and you're probably shutting the doors and you're kind of like, okay, is this gonna be work? I got an hour. Like, do I have time for this? You've got to grab them instantly and like just shake them and be like, this is going to be amazing, right? So the first thing I do is the second I start my webinar, I typically start about 5 to 10 minutes early. I get on there and I'm not just quiet, like, hey guys, this is Russell, I'll be on in a little bit, and quiet. I want energy and emotion and noise and things happening right when I get on. Okay, so first thing I get on, I'm like, hey, this is Russell Brunson. You guys, I am so excited for the webinar today. If you are just logging in, we're about to get started. This webinar, we're gonna be talking about blah, 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 whatever the thing is. I'm talking about this thing. It's gonna be amazing. And we're gonna start in about 6.5 minutes. So 6.5 minutes from right now, we're gonna get started. And I'm excited for you guys. We got tons of you guys logging in right now. And for those of you guys who are just jumping on, I want to welcome you to the webinar. My name is Russell Brunson. I'm gonna be your host today. And we're about 5 minutes away from go time. And I'm just excited to have you guys here. And when the webinar starts, I'm gonna be covering one of my favorite topics in the world, which is blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, for those of you guys who are just jumping on, I want to welcome you to the webinar. We're about 4.5 minutes from, you see how I'm doing this? So there's constant talking for 10 minutes where I'm just talking in a loop because people are logging in every about 30 seconds, okay? Well, you'll see, like if you have a big webinar, like every second new people are logging in, okay? And so I'm on like a little 20 to 30 second track where I'm just looping this and looping this and looping. I'm trying to say it different ways so it's a little interesting and exciting, but I'm telling them how much how much longer it is, what's the hook, why is this gonna be exciting, why am I so excited, why should they be excited? And I just keep going through that, I'm looping that, I'm looping that. And you'll notice when you jump on a webinar like that where I'm introing or someone that understands this process is doing it, instantly there's a different change in energy. Like you get on and you're like, wow, like this is gonna be cool. Like something's happening here, right? As opposed to like, hey everyone, we're gonna start in a few minutes. Hey, we're testing the audio. We'll try to get on in a few more minutes. You know what I mean? Like it just changes the whole state, right? I'm very big in like, if you guys have ever studied NLP, talks a lot about pre-frames and states and things like that. Like I can affect your state really, really easily based on a frame that I'm taking you through, right? So if I want you to buy, if I'm going to be asking you for money over here, everything else that's happening before here is a frame, right? Every time you move from one step next, you're entering through a frame. And so I want to control that frame the best I can and make that experience amazing, because the better that is, the more likely you're going to buy, you're going to do it on the next page and the next page and keep moving through, right? So it starts with me with a whole bunch of energy, getting them excited for what's about to happen, okay? All right, now when the webinar is about to start, I'm like, hey guys, we are at the top of the hour. We always start on time. I'm ready to get started. I hope you guys are ready to get started. Let's jump right into this. Okay, my name, again, and even though I've said it 50 times, I'm starting again. My name is Russell Brunson. I want to welcome you guys to the webinar today. Now, we're going to be on for between 60 and 90 minutes, and before this webinar ends, blah. Okay, I'm giving them a bold promise. I have to give them a ruler by which to measure success by. Okay, if you don't give people a ruler to measure their success by, then what happens at the end of the webinar, they make up their own way to judge success. And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be pretty, okay? So I have to tell them at the very beginning, like, this is what success will be like at the end of this webinar. Okay, so I might say something like, in fact, let me grab my slides so you can see. I've done this presentation more times than almost anything on earth, so I'll just kind of show you some of these things. Okay, can you guys see my screen there? All right, so first thing I'm doing, okay, so during this presentation, I'm going to show you guys my weird niche funnel. It's currently making me $17,000 per day, which is pretty awesome, right? But the cool thing, because that's cool for me, it doesn't really matter for you, I'm going to show you guys how to ethically knock it off in less than 10 minutes. How many of you guys want to learn how to ethically knock off my funnel in less than 10 minutes? Okay, I made them a bold promise. I'm going to show you a funnel that's making 18 grand a day, and I'm going to show you guys how to knock it off. That's it. Now they know, like, at the end of this webinar, he's going to show me his funnel, and he's going to show me how to knock it off. If I get those two things, this hour has been successful. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? So you've got to give them a bold promise, because that's what they're going to judge you by. So many times I see people just jump in the webinar, start teaching, and at the end of it, people are like, why was I even on? That thing was so weird, right? So you got to do that. All right, so bold promise. Second thing is we got a hook to the end. So if you look at mine down here, slide number 6, I say, now I got a gift for you guys. For everyone who stays till the end, I created a sales funnel called Funnelology, and I'm going to give you this funnel for free. In fact, this is what it looks like right here. See, there's 4 pages. It sells a product here. I'm going to give you guys this as a gift for free, just for staying till the end. Nothing else. You have to pay anything. You get this for free if you stay till the end. Okay, what do I do? Well, I've got their attention, because I only got it for a few minutes before a lot of them are going to start jumping off. I've got to grab them, and I've got to give them a hook to the end. Why should you stay till the end? Okay, it doesn't have to be a free funnel. Sometimes like one of my webinars, one of my best-selling ones was my high ticket secrets. And I say, how many of you guys want to see my call center? Okay, it's a little tiny 2-person operation. I'm like, cool. So what I'm going to do is that everyone who stays thin, I'm going to pick up my laptop. We're going to walk over there to the call center. You guys can check it out and see exactly what it looks like. Okay? And people were going nuts. They wanted to see it, right? So it doesn't have to be something tangible. It can help. I've seen a lot of people go like, at the end of this, I'm going to give away a free iPod, which I'm not a big fan of those because it's so unrelated. Now you get people staying just for whatever. But if you can find something that's just kind of interesting and unique, that somebody like, you know what, I'm willing to sell to you, because they're basically selling you their time. I'm going to sell you this time in the hopes that I'll get this thing at the end. Okay, so hooking at the end is big key. Commanding attention. This starts from the second you start the webinar. Me talking loud, energy, commanding attention. Then you come into qualifying yourself, like, why should they care about you? So I come here and I'm like, hey, I'm Russell. Here's me, Tony Robbins. Me, Richard Branson. Here's me sleeping. And I just kind of like, I'm showing them that they should care that I'm the one presenting. Okay, so I'm qualifying myself, and then I future pace. Okay, future pacing is all about kind of putting themselves into what it could be. So for me, I future pace a little bit earlier right here. So I tell my story. This is kind of like my earnings disclaimer / future pacing. So I'm saying, look, by the end of this webinar, I promise you guys, you will not make $17,000 a day. In fact, when I got started, I just wanted to cover some bills. One day I was listening to a teleseminar. Someone told me how they were a millionaire, and I thought, I want to be a millionaire. And so this is how I become a millionaire. You make $2,000 a day. And for me, I started making these little funnels, and most of them flop, but every once in a while one would work, and some made $10 a day, some made $100 a day, and then every once in a while one blows up. And I got one right now that makes $27,000 or $17,000 per day. Right now, my company got 27 funnels. Can you imagine you just have one funnel working for you? And then imagine you have 2. Then imagine you have 10. And then imagine we have 27. Okay, we're doing over $10 million a year because we have 27 funnels. Now, you're not going to start that way, but you're going to start with one. Can you imagine what it'll be like when you have a bunch of them? Okay, so I'm future pacing. Imagine when this outcome that's true for me right now is true for you. What will that be like? Okay, and that's my introduction. So does that make sense, you guys? Do you see how that introduction, now you're like, man, this is gonna be amazing. I want to see how it works. Okay. All right, good questions. Okay. All right, so that's kind of my introduction, okay? And you guys have fun with it. You don't have to follow, don't be like me, just follow it to a T. I always try making fun and interesting, and then I always see everyone just copies me. So for me, I talk about this, and I'm like, now you gotta make me a promise. Promise me that after I show you this, you're not gonna use these powers for evil. And everyone laughs. And then 2 weeks later, I see this on everybody's intro slide, like, hey, promise me you're not gonna use these powers for evil. I'm like, don't copy me. Plug something else into here that's cool, that's more fitting for your personality, you know? Anyway, so but have fun with the introduction. Just have a lot of energy. If you do that, that's how you're gonna keep people on, because that's gonna be your big drop-off points. I remember back with Alex Mendoza's teleseminar course. He showed a teleseminar timeline. It was I think it was 10 minutes to the drop-off point and 15 minutes to top-off point. So it's you gotta get him past that 10-minute mark, and you gotta keep him past the 15-minute mark. And if you can do those two things, you just increase how much money you make. Because that's the 2 drop-off points. Okay, so introduction is big. All right. Now we're going to transition over here to the content. And this is something that's this is for me was the missing piece. I used to do an intro, and then I would just talk for an hour, and then I would go over into the stack and the closes. And I learned this concept from a guy named Jason Fladlin. Some of you guys may know him. He's got a webinar product, and the webinar product was good. It was really good. But the biggest thing I got out of it was how to structure the content. And I've changed how I do it a little bit, but definitely I was heavily influenced by what he was doing. Okay, because you can just teach to teach, but if you teach the right way, if you teach this way, every single thing you're doing will set up the sell at the end, and it'll have people leave feeling amazing. Okay, all right. So here's kind of the concept. The first thing, and I'm a huge believer in this, is your webinar has to focus on one thing. What is the one thing that you're trying to help somebody to accomplish? Okay. I had a conversation with Perry Belcher's, one of my friends, and he was talking about, he's a great copywriter, but he was talking about how he had gone and they'd done a bunch of tests on their different sales videos and webinars and things they'd done. He said that they found is that if they ever tried to convince somebody of more than one thing in a sales video, so of 2 things or 3 things or whatever that was, that it would 9 times out of 10 would bomb. And the more simple the concept was, and it was only one thing, like the offers that made the most money, the one thing they all had in common was they were all focused on one thing you're trying to convince somebody of. Okay. And so for you, your webinar is not about, I'm going to show you the 7 different ways to increase traffic to your website. Like that's not it. It's understanding like, well, the one thing, what's the one thing that that they've got to understand. If they believe that one thing, then everything else fits in, everything else will work. Okay. So for me, my one thing I'm trying to convince them of is that they can quickly create sales funnels. That's my one thing. Okay. So it's kind of, it never says that like as a thing. So it's kind of wrapped in this headline. So the headline is my weird niche funnel that makes me $17,947 per day and how to ethically knock off in 10 minutes. Okay. The point of that headline is what's the one thing you're going to learn? You're going to learn, first off, what a good funnel is and how to knock it off. Okay. How to create your own funnel. Like that's my one thing. Okay. So you got to figure out like what's the one belief you're trying to give someone. And then inside of that, we're embedding 3 secrets: secret 1, secret 2, and secret 3. Okay. So each of these secrets, the goal of those secrets is not just to, again, teach random stuff. It's to identify what their false belief patterns are and then shatter them. And then after it's been shattered, then rebuild it. Okay. So let me show you, let me pull up. If we had a whiteboard here right now, I would just whiteboard this, but we don't. So let me open up my paint program. I can doodle some stuff for you here. All right, because this is key if you can understand this part of it, right? All right, so here's my one thing. My one thing. And then from here, we've got our 3 secrets. So the first thing I figure out is for somebody to believe my one thing, right? Because my whole goal is if I can get them, remember I told you before that like the only goal of a presentation is to get them to believe that what you have will work for them. That's it. Okay, if I can get you to believe that what I have will work for you, you will give me money. Okay, so the one thing, this is what they got to believe. Okay, now I look at that. Now that I know this is what they got to believe, they got to believe that, eating butter for breakfast is the secret to losing weight, right? If that's the one thing, then I got to figure out like what are the 3 false belief patterns they have based on that. Okay. If the one thing is like that they need to use Facebook to drive, Facebook's the best source to generate leads online. So I know that's what it is. Then what are my 3 false? What are the 3 false belief patterns that people have about that? Okay. One thing I want to add to this too, if you're struggling to figure out what your one thing is, one of the easiest ways to do it is if you can fill in this sentence right here, it'll probably work. How to blank without blank. Okay. So right here, how to blank, this is what they want. So how to drive unlimited leads to your website, how to lose 1 million pounds in 5 minutes, how to, whatever it is they want. So here's their want without the thing that they hate. Without cutting out carbs, right? How to make like one of my best-selling webinars is high ticket secrets. Is how to sell super high expensive things on the phone without ever, or how to sell super high ticket packages without ever talking on the phone. Okay, they all want to sell high things without the thing that they hate is talking on the phone, right? So think about that. How to do whatever the coolest thing is you have without the thing that they hate. Okay, that's my headline 9 times out of 10 on a webinar. Okay, it ties back to this one thing. Okay, so now I got to figure out the three false belief patterns. Okay, so let me come back here. So I'll show you this here in my webinar. So I transition here. I go through. Here's my 3 secrets. Okay, so secret number 1 is how to ethically steal over $1 million worth of funnel hacks from your competitors for under $100. Okay, number 2 is how to clone their proven funnel in less than 10 minutes. Number 3 is how to get their same customers to start coming to your website instead. Okay, so for me, my 3 false belief patterns. Let me kind of show this in so you can see how this kind of relates back to my presentation, right? So the first belief pattern that people have is that for you to be able to create a good sales funnel, like that it's really hard. Okay, like you've got to go through and have you've got to have designers and programmers, and you have to like test a million things, and it's going to be really hard, right? So that creating a sales funnel is hard. Okay, so that's the belief pattern right here. is that this is really, really hard. Okay, so my goal, my job with this is to basically take that belief they have that's hard, I have to smash it. It is not hard. In fact, it's easy. So what's this right here? It says I got to break it and then rebuild it. Okay, so it's really, really hard. So I break that during the content and then I rebuild it. Okay, next thing here. So next one is that it takes a lot of time. Oh, it takes so much time. It's so hard to build a sales funnel. So that's their belief. I have to smash that belief and then I rebuild the new belief. Okay, and the third one is it's really hard. Even if I had a funnel, it would be hard to get people to come to my website. So for me, traffic is really, really hard. So that's their belief. So I have to smash that belief and show them how it's really, really easy. Okay. Now, if I've done that effectively, I've done this, this, and this, it then thereby proves that this one thing is true. Does that make sense, you guys? I know we're going into deep, concepts and strategies here, which makes me laugh because like I was the worst student of all time. I hated school. I really struggled with it. And teachers would talk about stuff that was so boring to me. But this is fascinating because this equals insane amounts of money. Okay, grasping this and understanding this will make you a millionaire faster than anything else I know on earth. Okay, so that's why I'm spending time with it, why I want you to understand it. That's what it is, okay? So this is the one thing. If they believe this one thing, they're going to give you money. Here are my 3 false belief patterns that are keeping them currently from giving me money. I've got to show them that their belief pattern is wrong. I've got to break it, and then I've got to rebuild it to show them that it's easy, okay? Here's the belief pattern. I destroy it, and I rebuild it, destroy it, rebuild it. And now I have proven this one thing is true. Now they have belief. Now they're going to give me money. It really is that simple when all said and done. Okay. So there's the concept. So let me come back over here. So here's my 3 secrets. Secret number 1, how to ethically steal over $1 million worth of funnel hacks from your competitors for under $100. Okay. So now I got to help them understand this. The first thing I talk about is here's how to ethically do it. Or there's a secret that I start teaching them, right? You got to model success. If you don't model success, you're going to get shot arrows in the back. And I'm just teaching. I'm showing you some examples of how I did something, right? Like I just modeled people who are successful. So here's some side, I modeled it. Here's some side, I modeled it. And then all it did to cost me, like I did all the work, it cost me $100. And anyway, this doesn't make sense for you because you obviously haven't seen the presentation, but I'm just I'm as quick as possible, the easy as possible, showing that it's really easy. Okay. The thing they thought was going to be hard is actually really, really easy. Okay. So I showed that at the end of it. Now I show them this is exactly how I do it. And they're like, wow, that is easy, Russell. I could actually do that. Because I show them like when all is said and done, this is all you got to do. Step 1, go to ClickBank. Click on the marketplace button. Step 2, find a product making a crap ton of money. Number 3, buy their product, see what they're selling. And number 4, sketch it out. Can everybody here do that? Can you all go to ClickBank? Can you all find something that's already selling? Can you all buy someone's product and then can you sketch it out? If so, that's how easy this is. Okay? Now they're like, crap, it is easy. Even I could do that, right? It's not hard. This is really, really easy. Russell took my belief pattern. I thought it was hard. He showed me how easy it was. It destroyed my belief pattern. Now I believe, thanks to Russell, thanks to this webinar, this is actually easy. I can do this. Okay? As soon as they're thinking that, you got them. Okay? Now we transition to secret number 2. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to clone and improve a funnel in less than 10 minutes. Now, this is what you're probably thinking. You got to get designers and webmasters and programmers and all these people and make it really, really hard, right? Is that not what you believe? Do you believe this is really hard? It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of money? That's probably what you believe, right? Well, guess what? You are wrong. Let me smash that belief because here is the new way, a better way. It's called ClickFunnels. And I show them ClickFunnels and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. This is easy now. I'm in. So I just took that thing. And again, like I play with this really hard. Like I tease them. That's what I'm like, this is what you used to have to do. I have to have design or pro. How many of you guys think to be successful, you got to have all these pieces? And they're like, yeah. And they're all overwhelmed. And if they weren't overwhelmed, I'm trying to overwhelm them here, okay? Because if they don't have that belief yet, I want to give them that false belief so I can destroy it, okay? So that's just kind of, yeah. So I'm trying to give them that false belief so that I can destroy it. After I've destroyed it, now I can rebuild it. And now it's like, wow, Russell's right. I don't need a designer, webmaster, programmer, or analytics person. It doesn't take a lot of time. I can do this in less than 10 minutes. This is now suddenly easy. Boom, which strengthens my one thing. Then I transition to the last one. I'm like, okay. So how many of you guys think this is amazing? But you're like, well, this is cool, Russell, but how do I get people to come to my website? It's really, really hard, right? because that's what they believe. That's the last belief pattern. If I can shatter this one, they've got no excuses. They have to give me money because this is the only last excuse they could possibly have. So the third excuse here, I can't get traffic. So I show them, here is how easy it is to get traffic. I show them a really simple process. Now again, notice that I showed one. Okay, my mistake that I would have done in the past and that most of you guys are going to do, you're like, let me show you 12 ways to get traffic. And you start showing all these things. That's wrong. You got to show them one. Again, it comes back to the one thing. The one thing is the core to the webinar, but it's also the core to each secret. Like, what's the one thing of the secret? The one thing, the one thing is like, should be the overarching theme of entire presentations. Everything's like the one thing, right? So within the secret, what's the one thing they got to do to get traffic? Because I can show you 50 ways to get traffic, but I'm not doing that. I'm showing you guys the one that's going to be the simplest and the easiest. So I show them this. They go to SimilarWeb. They find out where their competitors' traffic's coming from, and they just go and reverse engineer it. And then look how easy it is. And in 5 minutes, my ads are on the same site. And if my model worked, do you guys think that you could be successful with this as well? They're like, yes, I can. So I took their last belief. We smashed it. Now they've got no legs to stand on. The only thing they can believe now is that this one thing is true. And if they believe this one thing is true, then they have to give me money. Unless they don't have it. But if they have money, I've just destroyed the three belief patterns that were keeping them from giving me money. That was keeping them from believing that this would work for them. And I obliterated them. Now that they're gone, right? Like it's it. They have to buy now. Okay, I've taken away all the friction, all those kind of things. And that's how we teach the content, you guys. Okay? When I started doing that, my webinar closing rates went from 5 to 6% up to 10, 15. And then, like I said, live stage, we're closing about 50% now from a room, which is amazing. Walk in a room with 1,000 people and you're like, there are half these people will buy before I'm done. It's $500,000. It's really exciting, right? And so that's what's really important to understand, you guys, is that when I smash these and obliterate them, they have to believe my one thing, which means they have to give me money. Okay? All right, so there we go. Now we've gone through the content stuff. We have broke their belief patterns and rebuilt the ones that we need them to have. Now we got to transition to where we ask for money. Okay. Now this typically is like the most awkward and embarrassing part for most people. In fact, it was fun. I went to like a network marketing meeting. One of my friends is like, "Hey, we're having a little home party. Would you like to come?" And for me, I was just like, "Yes, I do." What time? So we went to this thing, right? And then we show up, and there's like 5 or 6 people, and they were selling essential oils, right? So everyone's trying these oils and sniffing them. They do a presentation talking about it. And the lady up front talking, she's doing a great presentation. Like, it was really, really good. And all of a sudden, you could tell that, like, now she needed to ask people for money. And, like, her face gets red and she starts talking really, really fast. And she's sweating and she gets nervous. And the more nervous she gets, the more nervous she gets. And it keeps just, like, compounding and building on itself. And she's freaking out. And she's like, what am I going to do? And then she's like, if you want to buy, you can go over there and buy. But, I probably wouldn't buy because most people shouldn't buy. And it's just, but if you are interested in giving us money, you should definitely talk to us. But if not, don't worry about it. I was like, whoa, what did she just blurt out? Like, that was so painful. And I promise you guys that for most of you guys, that's how it's probably going to be. And it was for me. I would get to the selling part and I get nervous and I already speak fast anyway. Like all of a sudden my voice would just would speed up even faster. And so I had to figure out how do we transition this? And Armin taught me this. He said, this is the easiest transition in the world. After you've gone through everything, then all you say is, hey, let me ask you guys a question. That's the transition. Like, that's it. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. We've been talking for the last 60 minutes, and I think it's been a good experience. We've had a lot of fun. Taught you guys a lot of cool things. But, 60 minutes, it's hard to cover everything in 60 minutes. So I have a question for you. How many of you guys would like to have, or how many of you guys would be interested in, if I had a way for you to be able to continue this conversation and be able to continue what you learned today, how many of you guys would be interested? Everyone's like, oh, they're going crazy. And then for me, I like asking permission. So I would say, well, if you don't mind, I put together a special package today. So here's my let me ask you a question picture. In fact, this is how I do mine. And I've seen 20 people copy this picture. Like, go find your own picture, you guys. This is mine. Anyway, but conceptually, this is what I say. So let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys feel a little bit like this right now? And I show this picture and then I laugh and I'm like, I know I talk really, really fast, you guys, and I'm guessing that, last 60 minutes has been fun, but some of you guys probably feel a little bit like this. Am I right? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, I totally get that. So what I wanted to do because of that is we put together a special package called Funnel Hacks, And the Funnel Hacks is a way for you guys to be able to implement this stuff over the next 6 weeks. And I just want to ask you guys permission. Are you okay if I take a minute and kind of share with you what's inside of Funnel Hacks? And then I wait. And it's always awkward. Okay, but you gotta be okay with awkward. Okay, I learned this from Joel Bauer, again, one of the public speaking classes I went through. He said you always ask permission before you sell. Because as soon as they said yes, you can sell to me, it just changed everything, right? So I always ask them permission. So do you guys mind if I just spend a minute real quick and show you this package we put together called Funnel Hacks? And then I wait. I do this awkward silence. And if I'm at a seminar, also you hear people say, yes, yes. They're screaming. Everyone's like, yes, yes. Can you just tell us what it is? Like they all start screaming. And then I know I'm in. Okay, on a webinar, I sit there. And all of a sudden I start seeing all these people in the GoToWebinar saying like, okay, I'm in. They give you permission. Okay. If someone just gave you permission to sell, they're more likely to buy. Okay, so I like to ask them for permission. Okay, all right. So there's probably permission. Then I go into okay. Here's what we got. Now we start going over here into the stack and then the closes. Okay. Now I'm gonna go through the stack because this is the most important. I'm gonna share some of these closes. I'm not gonna go through all the closes because there's 16 of them here. I can spend like 20 minutes on each one, and we don't have time for that. Also, like there's a lot more in this. This is just the ones I use like all the time, and then there's a whole bunch more that I use sometimes. And so I'm not going to go into all these, but I'll show you guys a bunch of them. If you're interested in learning all these, I have a presentation on the Perfect Webinar I give away for free that goes into all of these. And if you just go to perfectwebinarsecrets.com, you can get that. It's the DVD, and it goes through all of the different closes. So just because I know I'm not going to have time to go through all of them, so I'll go through a bunch of them. But just if you want to dig deep into that, you can get that for free. It's like $4.95 shipping and handling. Mails a DVD out to you that goes through all of them. So, okay, so the stack. So this is the stack that I learned from Armin Morin. Okay, now for this stack to make sense, the key concept behind this Armin taught me. He said that most speakers get on stage, right, and they're like, okay, this is what my package is. Boom, first thing you get is this, and then you get this, and you get this, and you get this. And they show you all these cool things, and then the last thing they show you is usually like just one of their bonuses, right? You're gonna get this really cool calculator watch or whatever, right? And then you're like, okay, and all it costs is $10,000. And so the problem is that people's attention span is like super short, right? Like shorter than you will ever believe, right? People's attention span is just like almost not there. And so when you say the price is only $10,000, the only thing that they associate that price with is the last bonus you showed them. So if you showed them like all this cool stuff, like you're gonna get a car and a house and an airplane and I'm gonna name Mars after you, and you're gonna get this cool calculator watch, and the price is only $10,000. All they're like is like all they remember is like, oh, it's $10,000 for a calculator watch. Man, that sucks. That's a lot of money, right? That's how people's brains work. And so what you have to do is you have to restack what's in the offer over and over and over again. And right before you reveal the price, you have to restack again so they associate the price with everything. Okay? So I'll show you how that works here in a minute. But if you see from these little images here, like here I'm saying component number 1 is this. Then I talk about it. And I say, okay, now component number 2, you get this plus this. I talk about that. And so that means you're going to get this plus this plus this. And I talk about it. And I keep stacking. I keep restacking it. Then I show them the price. And then I move on. I'll talk about the stuff here in a minute. Okay? So let me show you how that works. So I come through this presentation. And I talk about the first thing. So this is my stack slide. So I say, okay. So I just talked about the first thing they're going to get a 1-year enterprise account to ClickFunnels for free. So the first thing is 1-year enterprise account to ClickFunnels. So here's the first of my stack, right? You can get this total value of $3,564. Okay, next thing you're going to get, and I transition to my next thing. You're going to get the masterclass, which is this and this, and this is why it's amazing. Here's testimonials of people that loved it and how much money they made, and blah, 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 who it works for. Then I stack it again. So that means you're going to get the 1-year enterprise account to ClickFunnels and the 6-week Funnel Hacks Masterclass, total value of $6,561. Okay, so I stacked the 2 parts of the offer so far. Now I transition to the third thing. What's the third thing you're going to get? You need traffic. Okay, so I talk about traffic, why it's awesome, and then I stack it again. So that means you're going to get the 1-year enterprise account to ClickFunnels, the 6-week Funnel Hacks Masterclass, instant traffic hacks, a total value of $8,558. Then the next thing, right? You need copywriting. So I talk about my copy part of my product, and I go through all that, and so how cool it is. It's amazing. Talk about email sequences, and I stack again. So that means you're going to get, and you guys, I promise you, you'll feel awkward doing this the first few times, okay? But it's worth it. And don't gloss over. A lot of people can like, so that means you're gonna get all this stuff for 11,000. You can't just gloss over it. Like I've tried it before and it drops your conversions. Like you have to say it again. So every time I come back to I say, so that means you're gonna get a 1-year enterprise accounting ClickFunnels, a 6-week funnel hacks masterclass, instant traffic hacks, inception secrets, soap opera Seinfeld secrets, total value of $11,552. Okay, so you did it. So I stack it over and over and over and over and over. I'm gonna do it a couple more times too, by the way. But I do everything, and now this is my offer. Okay, total value of $11,552. Now, before I transition to like, don't worry, I'm not gonna charge you this. This is what I am gonna charge you. I have to get them to believe that it's worth that amount of money right there. If I cannot get them to say, yes, Russell, it's worth $11,000, they're not going to pay me $997. Okay, so I have to get them to justify this price. Okay, so the way I do that is through a process called if-all statements. I learned this from Dave Van Hoos. Okay, if-all statement. So what I do, I have to say, this package is $11,000. Now, obviously, I'm not going to charge you guys $11,552. I think it's worth it, but I'm not going to charge you guys that. But I need to ask you guys a question. If all that the funnel hacks package did was, so if all that this did was blah, would it be worth it? If all this did was blank, would it be worth it? If all this did was blank, would it be worth it? So 3 times, I'm trying to get 3 yeses. Yes, yes, yes. I need them to say yes 3 times that if all that this package did was something and it'd be worth $11,000, I get them to say yes 3 times. So first off, if all this did was finally give you funnels profitable, would it be worth it? Yes. If all this did was to help you to share your message with more people, would it be worth it? Yes. If all this did was give you the ability to cancel all of the monthly tools you're currently using to glue together your funnels, would it be worth it? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. 3 times they told me it's worth $11,552. Okay? So now when I come back to them and say it's only $1,000, if they don't buy it, then they're lying to themselves. Because they just told me it's worth $11,000. I'm giving them a 90% discount. Okay, you see why that's important? So I'm taking this price, the top value, and then I have to get them to, in their own mind, to say it's worth that. I do that through if-all statements. So I have my if-all slide. I do it at least 3 different times, 3 yeses, then I can transition. Okay, and this is I'll show you this one my closes. But I come back through, and then I give them the actual price, $997. So I get the price, and then after that, then I do some more closes, which I'll talk about here in a second. I go back through all the way to the end. And then I take my last slide here, where then they see the price, they see what to do, they see the call to action, they see a recap, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Okay, so that's basically how the stack works. Okay, but you notice right here on slide 111, I restacked it again. Right, I do like if you come back here, I did here I talk about the prices, and I'm doing dropping some of my closes in here to to help close them, and I come back and again I restack it one more time. And then I get my call to action to the action takers, and then come to the slide right here. Okay, so again, I'm gonna go into closes here in a second, but a couple of cool things I want to state. One thing, this last slide here in the bunch, we've tested this a lot. I'm gonna walk through some of the other pieces. One other thing that's cool is if you can do this for your product. So we offer people they could just buy normally, which is awesome. But then we come back and say, hey, PayPal will actually finance you. So you guys know that PayPal's got a financing program, and it's not for everyone, but it's subject to credit approval, and it's only for US-based customers. But my guess is right now, for most of you guys, 75% of your audience is probably US-based. So this will work for most of your clients. So I throw a slide in here that basically says, hey, and all they do, if they buy through PayPal, they can use PayPal as financing, right? Where PayPal, when they go through PayPal, a little thing will pop up saying, hey, do you want to use PayPal's Bill Me Later program? Or I think they changed the name of it recently, but it used to be Bill Me Later. And you say yes. What happens is PayPal goes and does an instant credit check. If they're approved, boom, it drops $1,000 in their account. They buy it. You get the money instantly. It didn't cost them a penny. And they got 6 months with no payments and no interest. Okay, this is one of the most powerful slides in my whole presentation. I say, look, some of you guys, I know you want this, maybe you can't afford it or you're nervous or whatever. So what we're going to do is we set up a deal with PayPal where they'll actually finance this whole thing for you. Okay, now it's not for everyone. You've got to be subject to your credit approval and you got to be in the US. But if you qualify for this, you sign up. That means you go in there, you don't pay a penny right now. You get access to everything I talked about. You can go through and you can use it for the next month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months. You can every month make $1,000 or $10,000, $100,000 a month for 6 months. And in 6 months from now, then you pay PayPal back. And you're not paying a whole bunch of interest. There's no payments, no interest for 6 full months. Is that crazy? Okay, so that's a gift PayPal is giving US-based customers. So if you're on the fence and you just want financing, boom, there it is. PayPal will finance you. You can use this, make a crap ton of money, and then in 6 months from now, then you can pay it off. Is that awesome? How many of you guys want that? All right, go. I do that. Now taking this last slide. This slide, like I said, I've tested so many things here. In fact, I'm going to make it live so you can see exactly what I do. Okay, so this is some cool stuff. All right, first off, you see that all pretty well? First off, I recap my offer on the slide. The reason why I do that is because whenever time I get the slide, everybody asks me like a million times, what was in it again? What's in it again? I'm like, are you kidding me? I've stacked this 80 times. How in the world do you not know what's in my package at this point in our relationship, right? But they don't. So I have it here so they can just see it again, okay? I have the big old price in green because green means go. I have a call to action, which is whatever.com/go because I want them to go. I have a countdown clock. Now, we started these countdown clocks when I would speak at live events. I put a 10 or 15-minute countdown clock, and it would get people's butts out of their seat and run you to the back. So I started doing it with webinars, and what we did initially is we would do, I think I did a 10-minute countdown clock, and I would just be talking during the 10 minutes, and while I was talking during this 10 minutes, sales would be coming in, and the second the clock hit 0, sales stopped, just every time. I was like, God, that's annoying. So then we made a clock that went 15 minutes, and sales came in, and at 15 minutes, the second the clock hit 0, people stopped buying. I was like, well, screw that. Let's make this a 30-minute clock. So we bumped it out to 30 minutes. And then I sat on for 30 minutes doing Q&A, and the whole 30 minutes people are buying. And usually by about 30 minutes is when it starts trickling down, it stops. But it's crazy to me. I did webinars for almost a decade where I would do the close, say the price, and I'd end. Where I know that more than half I'd say probably 3/4 of my sales come during this 28-minute or during this 30-minute countdown clock. Okay? Like it has made me so much more money. I don't know how I didn't do it before, but it's amazing, right? People are always like, how do you make a countdown clock in PowerPoint? I just found a clock online. I recorded it in Camtasia, turned it into a video file, and I added the video to my slide. It's just a video file, so you can pause it and push play. Like it's not a real countdown clock. It's a little video because I couldn't figure out how to make a countdown clock. So there you go. That's what I did. So countdown clock's huge. Then the next question is like, what do you do for 30 minutes while the countdown clock's happening? Okay, same thing you do in the introduction. You've got to talk constantly. I got to keep the energy high, keep them pumped up, keep them excited, because if I have a lull, they're going to stop buying. Okay, so I can't have a lull. So what I do is I went through it after this webinar 30 or 40 times. I know what everybody's top questions are. So I just preload them here in my slides, and I go through and I answer questions for people that have in GoToWebinar. So like I'm answering questions live, but then I also preload all the questions I know I get over and over and over again. Okay, and I just go through here on the slide, and I just click through here. What do I do if I already have an account? And then I answer it. I'm okay, next question. Oh, what happens after the first year? And I answer it. What are the tools do I need? And I answer it. And I just go through this, and for 30 minutes, I just keep answering these questions. Everyone's like, Russell, how in the world did you make it so they can do Q&As like that in PowerPoint? So I'm not a PowerPoint ninja, so I just wrote out every one of these questions, and then like I literally had a slide like every one of these little questions in here. It took forever, and then I just animated them all out, and then I just stacked them on top of each other. So now it's this big, huge, blurred mess of things. Okay, so there's probably an easier way to do it, but that's how I do it. So that's in there. There's like 50 questions. It looks like a bunch of like just mumbo jumbo, but that's what it is. Okay, so that's how I do this last slide. This slide, like I said, is very important. I'd say these two slides are probably two of the most important. They're using PayPal financing, and then using this. This is the tool to keep closing sales all day long. Okay. All right. So you guys getting this? This is making sense to you? All right. A couple other things. One thing I just did to you guys right there, I just dropped 3 trial closes on you. So some of you guys are saying, what is a trial close? Trial close is something that I am embedding all throughout my presentations. I learned this from Ted Thomas. Ted Thomas's nickname is the Pied Piper. I've seen videos of him speaking at Robert Kiyosaki events where he will have a line of 1,000 people all holding their credit cards above their head, waving it, following him to the back of the room. And they call him Pied Piper because he's the best at like getting people to do that. And so I was speaking at an event, and I had heard rumors of Ted Thomas, never met him. I'm doing my presentation, I look out over the audience, in the back of the room I see this old man, and I was like, I think that's Ted Thomas. I am so nervous right now that the king of closing is sitting here watching me speak, right? So I did my presentation, and we did some sales, and it wasn't like amazing, but it was good. And I was like kind of proud of it. And he was kind of hanging out after the webinar, excuse me, the seminar. And then after everyone kind of disappeared, he came to me and said, "Hey, Russell, my name's Ted Thomas." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. Don't worry." And he's like, "Can I take you to lunch?" I'm like, "That'd be awesome." So he took me to lunch. We start talking. He starts asking me all these questions, question after question after question. And then he stops and he says, "Russell, look at your head right now." And I looked and my head's like just nodding. He's like, "See how your head's moving?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What I just did you is I just did a whole bunch of trial closes, which is why you were nodding yes right now." He's like, "When I was in your room," he said, "you were an engaging speaker. You were getting people to buy. People went and bought. Things were good. But I was sitting in the back of the room and I noticed that not a single person's head was moving in the entire room." He said, "If you watch me speak, from the second I stand on stage, the entire presentation, everybody's head's nodding yes the whole time." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, they've said yes to me about 1,000,000 times before I ever asked them for money." I was like, "Well, how do you do that?" He said, "It's this little thing I call trial closes." He said, "What a trial closes is you ask people little questions, little yes or no questions, and the answer is obviously yes. And they say yes, and they say yes again. And even if you're home in a webinar, your head is probably nodding when I'm doing my webinar, okay? So I'm using these trial closes throughout the entire thing, okay? So for example, here's my intro slide. So, hey guys, welcome to the webinar. I'm talking about my weird niche funnel. It's currently making me $17,947 per day. How many guys would love to see behind the scenes of a funnel that's making 17 grand a day? Wouldn't that be awesome? Okay, well, I'm going to show you guys that. You guys excited for that? Okay, I said 3 trial closes. They told me yes 3 times reading the first part of the headline. Okay? And I say, but not only am I going to teach you that, I'm going to show you guys something that's even better for you. Because the other thing's cool for me, right? Another trial close. But I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to show you guys how you can ethically knock it off in 10 minutes. How many of you guys want to learn how to ethically knock off my funnels in less than 10 minutes? Boom, got another yes. Okay, so that's 6 yeses in my very first slide. Now, I need you guys to do me a favor before I show you this. Can you guys please promise you're not going to use these powers for evil? What do they say? Yes. Okay? Over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I got to show you an early disclaimer. First off, I promise you guys you are not going to make $17,000 per day, right? Now, you guys probably knew that you weren't going to do that, right? Boom, 2 trial closes. Now, and I start going through it. And so every time I'm saying something, I'm interacting with the audience and I'm saying, does this make sense? Are you guys getting this? Is this awesome? Are you guys excited? Does that make sense? Right? Right? And they're saying, yes, yes. Like I should count sometime. If you counted all my webinars, I've probably asked you to say yes at least 1,000 times in my presentation, if not more. Every time people want me to critique a webinar, I start watching. Within 5 minutes, I know exactly what's wrong. They didn't interact with people. They didn't say yes. And because usually they're embarrassed, they feel stupid or whatever, but that is what gets people to nod their head. Okay? And I need them nodding their head the entire 90 minutes if I'm going to ask them for money. Okay? A couple other cool things that trial closes work the best for is when you show testimonials. Okay, so for example, this is Liz, right? So a lot of times people show a testimonial and they move on. Like, here's Liz's testimonial. She said, with our new funnel, which is the webinar funnel, this month, blah, 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 and we're on track to make 100K this month. Next testimonial is from Mike Stansky, and move on. Okay, that's the worst thing you could do. When you share a testimonial, you've got to future pace and drop 1,000,000 trial closes after every single one. So I read Liz's thing. This is what Liz said. She said, with our new funnel, blah, 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 right? Can you guys imagine what that would be like to get 100 new clients? Isn't that amazing? Like, what would you do if you had 100 new clients this month? Now, I'm sure some of you guys are thinking that's probably, that's not likely for me, right? And I get that. Like, a lot of you guys, that may not make a lot of sense, might not be possible. But I promise you, if you had asked Liz a few months ago if that would be possible for her, she would have told you no too. Okay, you guys getting this? Do you see how that works? Does this make sense to you? Are you getting excited? I'm excited for Liz. Are you excited for her? All right. Then move on to Mike. Okay, so I dropped like 50 trial closes. They said yes like 80 times around Liz. And it just drove that, it like made that testimonial so real for them because they said yes over and over and over again. Then I tell Mike's story. And I'm like, is that cool, you guys? Like, can you imagine what that'd be like if you were Mike? He was brand freaking new. And now he's rich. Like, what would that be like for you to have that same process? Okay? Trial close, trial close. Same thing when I'm showing like cool features. Like, show these things like, I'm going to show you my solo hat hacks. How many of you guys want my solo hat hacks? Wouldn't that be awesome? Who wants my media buying hacks? All right, that's what I thought. That's pretty cool, right? I'm pretty sure, I just trial closing throughout. Okay? Trial closes are huge, right? Now I'm going to come into some of these other closes. So again, there's a whole bunch, like I'm trial closing every sentence. I'm almost trial closing. And then as I start transitioning here, you'll start seeing some of them. Let's see if I can find some of them buried in here. Okay, so here's my transition. What are you going to get when your eyes count? Okay, so this is called if false statements. We showed you that. Okay, I had two choices. That's your two choices. This is one trial close right here, or one close right here. You notice that I'm not using all of them on every presentation. I find the ones that fit, that make sense, and I plug them in. So I'm gonna have a bunch of them in here, but I'm not. In fact, I think when I first started mapping these all out, when I did my high ticket secrets webinar, I'd put every single one in. So I had whatever 16 of these ones in here, and it was kind of cool. But then even if it was kind of overkill for me, I felt kind of awkward. So I do a lot less of them now, but I always have probably 7 or 8 or 9 of them in here. Okay, so I had two choices. Option number one, I could go as cheap as possible and sell as many as possible, but the problem is it didn't really incentivize me to stack on the value for you. So my second option, which requires a little bit higher investment, but in exchange I can devote more resources to help guarantee your success. Okay, so then in their mind they're like, sweet, he's gonna charge me more, right? That's my goal with that close. Get them to be like, sweet. Okay. All right. Now we got their two choices. Okay, right here. Okay. After the price, I'm like, look, now you've kind of got two options. Here's your first option. Don't do anything and not take this leap of faith, which is 100% risk-free. Or your second option is just pony up this tiny little investment today compared to all the value that you're going to get in return and just give it a shot. If you can't because I believe my company that if I can't make you money, then I don't deserve yours. Okay. So that's another close there is I'm using now that they've got two choices. So before it's like, I've got two choices. And the way I phrased it, like there's only one logical option. And then for here, you only have two choices. Okay. Obviously, they got a lot of choices. They could hang up the phone. They could walk away. But I need to make them believe there's only two choices. One makes them look like a fool, and number two is amazing. Okay. And they're like, sweet. Well, those are my two options. I only have two choices. It says it right here. I don't want the first option to do nothing. I want the second option that's amazing. Okay. Guarantees are good. The real question. I call that over here. Anyway, I might have called something different. Anyway, the real question is it worth gambling a few minutes of your time to check it out, which even only does half what I've claimed in today's training, will pay for itself since your very first funnel is live. Anyway, you can see they're throughout here. Like I said, I would go through all of them, but we are already. So I got excited telling you guys stories. So we're already an hour and 15 minutes in. So again, if you want to watch all the rest of these, if you go to perfectwebinarsecrets.com. There's a DVD. It's $4.95. We ship it out to you. It's a DVD. Plus, it comes with a paper version of this, so you can have it. But the DVD, I go through all 16 of them. I show you examples of them, so you can see exactly how to add those in. But hopefully that helps. Like again, find the ones you like. Put your own in there as well. But how you're closing throughout the whole thing. I'm dropping closing slides throughout this whole stack here. And so by the time at the end, again, between trial closes, these closes, and the stack, it's hard for people not to buy, especially if you've structured this the right way. We've taken away everything, every logical excuse they have. You not only have you smashed, you've rebuilt it, shown them how it is possible with this one thing. Then when you show them here's the one thing, and then you sell it the correct way, like we showed through here, it's hard for people not to buy. Okay, and like I said, we close consistently 15%. It's amazing. As soon as the webinar gets on, I count the people, and then I always write down a number. I'm like, okay, if I get 15%, it means I will have made $83,000. And I do the webinar, and almost every time, like clockwork, we hit whatever number it is that I forecast at the beginning, because I know that consistently, almost every single time we close the exact same rate. It's just like the weirdest thing in the world. Doesn't make sense to me how that works, but it just works. Okay, so it's good to get it. Now, for you guys, some of you guys saying, well, how good does my webinar have to be, Russell? Kind of my experience is if you can get a webinar that closes at 7 or 8%, like that's a good webinar. You're gonna make a lot of money with that. You get to 10%, that's $1 million webinar. You get above that, we're at 15%, and it's been live less than a year, and we're just shy of $10 million from this one webinar. And it's not slowing down at all. Like it's amazing. So that kind of should give you guys some groundwork. Okay, why is it so important to test these things and to try them over and over and over and over again? Why is it important to learn this skill? It's because shifting 2 or 3 percentage points is the difference between a 7-figure your company and an 8-figure your company. Like it's those little tiny tweaks all added in together. Okay, and so you guys have the benefit. Obviously, I've been doing this for 10 years, standing up on stages, embarrassing myself over and over and over again. So you guys could just kind of use a shortcut, not go through all that, and just kind of pick up where I left off. And I give you guys this as a gift because I do care about your success, and I want you guys to have success with this. I care about what Joel's doing. He's done an amazing job, and it's just I wanted to give this to you, and hopefully it'll help you guys a lot. So that's kind of the first part here. All right. So next thing we're going to cover, so that's the webinar when somebody gets on, right? So next piece we want to cover is how do we get someone on the webinar? What's the process for that? So let me shrink this screen and
Michael asked, how does Russell identify the top 3 beliefs to kill? Does he just go for the obvious ones? So I was wondering if you could kind of shed some light on your 3 secrets. Like, which 3 beliefs do you usually shoot for?
Great question. Okay, so the question is, what 3 beliefs are you to shoot for? So for me, a lot of it depends on what it is I'm selling. So it's got to tie into that, right? Somehow it's got to weave back. For me, like the reason why I am showing. Let me find my slide real quick. So many slides. Where's my number 1? Okay. Like the reason why I'm showing you guys my process of this is because I'm trying to get them, this helps my case for, like, if they learn how to funnel hack someone, then they're gonna want to use ClickFunnels. If they then learn how to use ClickFunnels, they want to use ClickFunnels. If they believe they can get traffic to that funnel, they're gonna want to use ClickFunnels, right? So it's got to support what it is I'm selling at the end of the day. So that's the first part. The second part of it though is most people have the same issues, and they're usually tied to time, to money, to things like that. And so I try and figure out how to base it. So I don't have like a hard fast rule for that really. A lot of it's just kind of knowing your market, knowing what it is that keeps them from taking action. But I would venture to guess it's pretty similar in most markets, right? Like let's say it's the weight loss market, for example, and everyone's tried a million different diets. So why have they not had success in the past? One of them is like maybe they heard they had to get rid of carbs, and so they love donuts and they're not giving up donuts or bread or whatever, right? So it's like if you know that that's the majority of people's concern, you can say, look, the cool thing is you can do this without cutting out carbs. Like, are you serious? Like, I not cut out carbs? Like, how is this possible, right? Or, they've tried in the past and they lost it, but they gained it right back. Okay, that's a common concern. So, okay, how do we make this so it's a lifestyle change, not a yo-yo diet, or whatever those things are? So, I think it really, the key is just understanding your market and understanding like what pain they've gone through to get to where they're at right now, right? People take action. They get on a webinar. They're buying things because they're usually in some kind of pain, and they're trying to get out of that pain. And so if you can identify like the last 10 times they tried to get out of that pain, like what was the issues they probably ran into? Like I know with my market, the issues were they don't know what to do, okay, which is why we showed them how to funnel hack. Now you know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I can't afford programmers. So, okay, well, that's cool. Let me show you how to do it with ClickFunnels. And okay, well, that's cool. But even if I did do it right, I can't get traffic. Okay, well, let me show you that too. Like those are the 3 core things that my people struggle with. And so for your market, you got to think of that through. Like what are the last 10 things they've tried in the past, like why did they fail? Why did they think they failed? If you can answer that, then it becomes really easy. So yeah, I hope that kind of helps.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of chime in here real quick. It's really, really simple to come up with your 3 core concepts, and 95% of the time, it's going to come down to either time or money. How can you save them time? How can you save them money or make them more money? And then you usually throw one other thing in there. So I mean, even with secret number 1, how to steal over $1 million of funnel hacks for under $100. Like how to make more money without spending a whole lot of money. How to clone the proven funnel in less than 10 minutes. Like how to get this stuff done in very little time. And then you usually just throw in one other one, that like common pain point that they've that they're having. So yeah, man, keep it up, man. You're doing an awesome job. So we got a lot of people that are excited. So I just want to bring that question to your attention.
Very cool. Awesome. Okay. All right, so let's transition now. I got another 40 minutes. So the next 40 minutes, I want to show you guys the process of what we're doing now to get tons of people on the webinars and get them excited and get them to show up and all those kind of things, and kind of walk you through the funnel process. So I'm going to pull this down here now. So this is one of like 10 different registration pages. And I'm going to show you guys a whole bunch of them here just so you can get different ideas of what we're doing and how we're doing it. But this is one of my, this is the control. This one is made us a lot of money. And so a couple things about it. The first thing I want you to notice is, you notice right here we got the 1 thing and the 3 secrets. So if you look at my page, like the only copy on this page almost is, here's my 1 thing, and down here are my 3 secrets, right? if you thought through your one thing and your three secrets a lot, like that's gonna be the best copy you got. So I that's basically my landing page. That's number one. Number two, the thing that gets people to register for a webinar or join a squeeze page or whatever that is curiosity. Excuse me, curiosity and pain. Those are the two things, right? And so I need them to, like, whatever my one thing is, whatever my headline is for this thing, it has to be something they cannot figure out in their mind on their own. Okay. And so for mine, it says my weird niche funnel is currently making me $17,000 per day and how to ethically knock it off in less than 10 minutes. Okay. Like the human mind looks at that and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. How could someone make 17 grand a day? And how could I ethically, how could I ethically knock it off in less than 10 minutes? Like there's so much curiosity wrapped in that thing that you have to, like, if you read that for the rest of your life, you'd be thinking like, what the crap? Like, what was that thing again? I wish I could find that webinar because I got to figure out what his weird niche funnel is like. I got to see what that thing is, right? It was funny. We did our certification program last week, and one of the camera guys, my main camera guy brought his like intern to come and help him. He's a 16-year-old kid, and the kid like afterwards came to me. He's like, "Hey, I have a question for you." So I saw this webinar thing online on Facebook or whatever. He's like, it said that you make $17,000 per day. Is that true? And I was like, actually, like, we make a lot more than that, but one of our funnels makes 17 grand a day. Yes. And he was like, oh, that's so cool. And he was like so excited because he like didn't think it was true. And then when I found out it was true, then he was just like going nuts because he wanted to figure it out, right? And so they see this, like, it's curious. Like, I can't figure that out. Okay, I see people all the time that are like, that their headlines are like, the fastest way to lose weight. Okay, the problem is that I can think like, what's the fastest way to lose weight? Probably cutting out carbs. Okay, in my head, I think I can answer it, so then I don't register because I think I can answer it. You have to leave it so curious based they can't just answer it in their head. If you do that, that's what gets them to register and gets them to show up. Okay, sometimes people register, they don't show up because it's not curious enough. Okay, so that's the key, guys. Is you gotta like invoke curiosity. Like I can't stress that enough. Of all of our split tests that we've done over the last 5 years, like what I found consistently across the board is that the more curiosity based the headline is on a landing page, the more people will respond. If it's opting in, registering for register, or whatever. Okay, that's it. Okay, and so again, that ties in the whole. Now that becomes the title of my presentation. That becomes my one thing that ties into my three secrets. So all those pieces kind of come on here. A couple other things. Notice this picture back here. So you see this picture. Like, what does it look like? It doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, there's a theme here. Like, here's me doing the hang loose sign. Is that a phone? Is it hang loose? I'm holding this like picture. It's like a website. In the background, there's this huge website back there. Like what is that, right? It's just raw curiosity. Like, I don't know what this is. We tested tons of different pictures back here, like beach scenes, all sorts of things. This one crushes them every single time. I think it's because like it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, what in the world is that? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so there's kind of your theme. The less sense you make on your registration page and the more curiosity-based you are, the more people are going to opt in. So there's my hard, fast rule for that. All right, so that is one of our registration pages. I'm going to come here into ClickFunnels and boom, I think this is the right one. Okay, so for me, in my market, like, I know that for my webinar, like, this is like the majority of my market I'm going after. Right? These are internet marketers, it's business opportunity seekers, it's people who this would be interesting to them, right? But I know that my product, as I scale this and grow it, I know there's going to be other markets that I also want to go after that this message isn't going to resonate with them, right? Like a chiropractor is going to see this and they're not going to resonate with it. And so, but if they were on the webinar, it would resonate with them and they would buy the product. So I re-niche out my front end page to kind of to speak to different audiences, if that makes sense. So awesome. Of course, we have an application everyone we're live. So anyway, I'll show you some of the other variations of the pages here in a second. Right now I'm going to go through this. So here's my first page here that I'm going to register. So I'll register here and you'll see now it takes me to page number 2 in the funnel.
Hey, this is
after they register, and then they land on this page. And on this page, this is where, my job's not done yet. I caused some curiosity, but now I got to like drive it home and get them to actually show up. So a couple things I do here. First thing, I got a video from me saying, hi, thank you so much for registering. And I'm talking to him like, this webinar class is going to be amazing. This is what it's called again. This is what you're going to learn. I'm just getting him fired up and excited for that webinar, right? That's the first thing I do on this page here. Next thing I do is, for me, I like to have people, first off, write down the date and the time of the event so they don't forget. You have the date and time here. I added this because some people, like, they register and go to webinar and send the email for some reason. They're like, I need the email again. So I added it in on this page. It's like, if you didn't get webinar, you can re-register here. And this takes them just directly to the GoToWebinar page. So it's just kind of like a second backup. It's like when I went skydiving, the dude that was hooked to my back, he had 2 parachutes. And so I'm kind of a big believer in that, and just like throwing on a second parachute just in case. So that's my second parachute. For some reason, they didn't get the GoToWebinar link, right? Then over here now is I want them to do stuff before they show up to the event. Okay, there's a couple different schools of thought on this. One of them is, and this is like Frank Kern, he always sells something on his thank you page to try to cover his ad costs for the webinar, right? So, because if I spend, I think on average we're spending between $3 and $5 for someone to register for our webinar on Facebook. So I want to make sure that I recoup those costs before the webinar. So I usually, on the thank you page, I'm selling something. So for me, what I'm selling is I give people a free 2-week trial to ClickFunnels. So my video says that, say, hey, thanks so much for registering for the webinar. Now, before you get on the webinar, I'm going to be talking to you guys about ClickFunnels. You need to go get a trial to ClickFunnels. If not, you're a moron. I don't want to say that, but go get the trial, click on the button down below, and go get a free trial. So they click on that, they go get their free trial, and then it starts putting them into that process. They start using the software. So now when they show up for the webinar, they're predisposed to it, they understand it, they're more likely to buy. Okay? The other concept, again, is like, let's say you're selling whatever. You're selling a $1,000 video course on the webinar. You might want to do like, hey, I've got a $27 video quick start guide. Go buy that right now. It's a quick start to help you get started into this whole video marketing, whatever, right? So I'm selling something to kind of help cover the lead cost. But secondly is I want to get people in the process of buying with me. Okay, human beings are really interesting characters. Like when we're in motion, it's hard to stop us. When we're not in motion, it's hard to get us started, right? And so I want to get the process started. I would rather somebody have bought something from me before I pitch them $1,000 things than not. And so I'm going to try to do that here on this page. So for me, I'm selling the free trial. So they're not buying anything, they're putting their credit card in before the webinar, right? And then I start doing this down here just to, again, make more money on lead costs. And I have step number 1, here's the dates, times of the webinar. Step number 2, go get your free trial. And then step number 3, go buy my book. Okay, so now I'm kind of selling 2 things here, but they're just kind of like, each of these are really simple offers. Free trial, free book. They put in their credit card, but now like I'm making money before the webinar ever starts. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what I'm doing on my registration page. A lot of different things. The core things, I'm getting them excited about the webinar, making sure they write down dates and time. I'm trying to sell them something. So that's what I do on the thank you page. All right. This is called the death of a website. And so this is one I target when we're sending like chiropractors and doctors and dentists and professionals, people who don't know what a funnel is, but they know what a website is. And this one converts awesome. I have like a sales letter version of the registration page. I also have a video version that, again, normally I could find like 3 seconds, but it's just a little bit longer, and it's kind of explaining them like the depth of a website, right? So I find something that again, my the webinar doesn't have to change because I'm still teaching the same thing, but it's a different hook that'll get that audience engaged. Because you'll find like if you start, you're building a webinar on Facebook traffic. And let's say after a while, like you're going to run out of people to show it to. Like you're going to show it to everyone in that market, right? After usually a couple months, we have what we call ad fatigue, where people have seen that offer so many times, like it stops responding as well. And you go from $2 or $3 to register into like $10 or $15 and it gets more expensive. So for me, it's all about like we re-niche the front end, and then we can target a different audience. So this was one version we had targeted, and I was trying to show you a bunch of them, but anyway, conceptually you can kind of see how that all works. All right. Cool. Let me pull my other screen over here, because next thing I was going to show you the other registration or the pages. Let's see if I can find them real quick. Well, let's talk about conceptually, then I'll find the pages for you later. So here's conceptually now what we do. We call this the perfect webinar funnel. Okay. People always ask me, what day is the best day to do a webinar, and how long out should I start promoting it? What should I, blah, 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 all these things like that. So I'll kind of walk you through what we do. And this isn't 100% like the same for everything, right? Like if this, a lot of these things are happening if I have somebody who's sending emails to promote the webinar. If I'm doing this on Facebook, it's going to change a little bit, but not dramatically. So just kind of keep that in mind that like this process will tweak based on the type of traffic you're sending to it. Okay, but I'm gonna kind of explain it as if I have a joint venture partner who's promoting this webinar, And then after, I'll kind of tweak and show you how we do it if it's Facebook or some other type of ad source, okay? So again, I call this the perfect webinar funnel. So in my perfect world, I like doing my webinars on Wednesday and then again on Friday. Okay, so I'm doing 2 webinars each week, okay? And the reason is a lot of people I know, it's funny, we had a bunch of students who were doing webinars once, they were doing like every Thursday or whatever. And so the webinar ended on Thursday, and Friday they start buying ads again. They drive ads Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And the show up rates were horrible. And at first they're all freaking out. It's like, oh, nobody's showing up. But we started digging deeper in the analytics, and what we found that was interesting is that their show up rates, people that registered Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday were really low. But people who registered Wednesday and Thursday were awesome. Like, they were all showing up. It was just because, like, most of the people, again, their attention spans are so short that they don't remember that far out. And so you have to compress that time. So for me, I like about a 2.5 day lead time to a webinar. If I go maybe 3.5 days max, but not any longer than that. So that's why I like Wednesday, because I like to start my promotion on Monday, do a Monday promotion, Tuesday, Wednesday, then you do the Wednesday webinar, and then kind of through there, okay? Because I don't want more than 2.5 days from when they first could hear about it to when the webinar happens. If it goes further than that, the show up rate just starts tanking, okay? All right, so this is how I do it. So Monday, I would have a joint venture partner promote my webinar registration page, okay? And then percentage of people will hit the confirmation page, and then they're gonna hopefully buy something, right? So you guys saw that process already. Then after they register for the webinar, I send them what we call an indoctrination process, or some indoctrination pages. These are pages to get them excited about the webinar. Okay. Now, in a perfect world, what would happen is someone would register on Monday, then Monday they watch video number 1, Tuesday they watch video number 2, Wednesday morning they watch video number 3, and then they show up on the webinar. Okay. And so many people stress out about that. Like, Russell, they registered on a Tuesday, and then the webinar happened, and they got the other videos later, and it's all messed up. And I keep trying to stress, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, these indoctrination pages are amplifiers. They're not necessary to the sale. They're there to help strengthen the sale. So a lot of times people register, they'll watch video number 1, then they get on the webinar, then they watch video 2, and then video 3, and then they buy after video 3, right? It doesn't matter kind of where these hit. It's just having them there because it intensifies their desire and their likelihood to purchase when they're actually on the webinar. Okay, does that make sense? So don't stress out about like the timing, the sequencing, making sure it's perfect, because it won't ever be. So don't worry about it. Okay, so they register on Monday, boom, and then they start getting, each day they get video number 1, video number 2, video number 3, and somewhere in that time they're watching the webinar, and I'm trying to sell them. Okay, so we push really hard for this live Wednesday webinar. So Monday mail, Tuesday mail, Wednesday we mail in the morning, and then Wednesday we mail an hour before the webinar actually happens again. Okay, and a couple other tricks, I know Joel knows these, a couple other things we do. If you're using GoToWebinar, a cool trick you can do is GoToWebinar will send a message out an hour before the webinar saying, don't forget your webinar starts in an hour. So what we do is that we 10 to 15 minutes before the webinar starts, I log into GoToWebinar, and then I change the title of the webinar from Russell's Cool Webinar to *** starting now, all in bold caps, ***, and then Russell's Cool Webinar. So I change the title of it, and it says, hey, do you want to notify all participants of the change of title? I say yes, and then GoToWebinar emails everybody 10 to 15 minutes before the webinar with a big email, the subject line says starting now. And that is one of the biggest things we use to get people to actually show up at the webinar. It's amazing. A couple other tricks is if you grab cell phone numbers and you text usually an hour before the webinar, and then again like 10 minutes before the webinar. So using that works as well. Those are all things I'm doing to get people to show up at the webinar, right? And again, if I've used a lot of curiosity, if my indoctrination videos strengthen the webinar and get people more excited, more interested in showing up, it'll increase your show up rates. All those, there's a lot of pieces that go into that, but all those things together will help increase your show up rates. Okay, if your show up rates are under 20%, like, you're in trouble. Like, either the market's horrible, or they're not getting emails, or it could be a lot of different things. But if it's sub 20%, it's gonna be hard to make the metrics work. Between 20% and like 40% is awesome. If you go above 40%, give me a call and let me know how you did it, because that's amazing. Okay, so that's how we do it. So then the webinar happens on Wednesday. We do this one live, and I love doing webinars live. And I want to sell you on why you should do webinars live first. One of the main reasons why you need to do it live, a whole bunch of times, not just once, is every time you do the webinar, you learn different things about why people are not buying. In fact, the very first time I did the ClickFunnels webinar, I was at an event in San Diego. I was speaking at Mike Philsame's event, and I think I closed like 38% of the room. It was awesome. It was like my first. It was the first. It was the first time I had done the webinar, stage presentation, and it worked. And then the next morning I was flying out, and I met this lady in the lobby, and she's like, "Hey, your presentation was awesome, and I wish I could have bought, but like I don't have a supplement." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I don't have a supplement, and I can't really buy." I'm like, "Well, this isn't about supplements. This is about like anything. I was just showing a supplement as an example." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Well, what do you do?" She's like, "Oh, I'm a coach." I'm like, This is like made for coaches." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so she's like, "Well, me and like 3 of my friends, we wanted to buy, but we don't have a supplement. But if we can buy, like, we're gonna buy." So they ran back and like ended up buying the next day when they found out that it worked for anyone, right? And I was like, "Well, it always worked for anyone," but she just didn't know that. But I never would have known that either if she didn't tell me that. So she told me that. And so what happened next? Let me see if I can show you my slides. So after she told me that, I went back to my slides and check this out. You guys will see how I transition this. So after I teach the very first thing, I show my supplement funnel. Then I come right here and I say, because Jamel shares their supplement funnel in a video. Okay, that's why they're like, "Oh, I wish I had a supplement funnel like his." So I came back, I had this slide, said like, "Well, who does this work for?" Okay, obviously it works for people's supplement funnels, but it also works for coaching funnels and info product funnels and e-commerce funnels and real business funnels. It works for all types of businesses. For example, here's my coaching funnel. How many of you guys are coaches or you want to be a coach? And they're like half the audience. I'm like, "Cool, well, this is my coaching funnel. It makes me 70 grand a week. You should knock it off." How many guys sell information products? Here's my info product funnel. You should knock it off. Here's my e-commerce funnel. You should knock it off. Here's my chiropractor's funnel. You should knock it off. So I'm showing them all these examples. And now if they're a chiropractor, they're like, "Oh, this does work for me." Or if they're an e-commerce, like, "Oh, it works for me." Okay, and they all of a sudden they get it in all these other markets. And I didn't know that until she told me that she didn't understand it. So when she told me that, I tweaked that and increased my conversions, right? Then we got back from the event. The next Tuesday, I did a webinar. I had 2 webinars that day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. We had more people registered for the morning webinar. I did the webinar, and it did all right. We made like $30,000 in sales, and I was kind of upset. And so afterwards, I'm like, "Why aren't people buying?" And I told my staff, I'm like, "Export all of the Q&A from GoToWebinar, and I need to see why people aren't buying." And so I spent like 30 minutes reading every single question people had submitted, and all of a sudden, I was like, wow. Everyone's having questions about this and about this and about this, and I found out all these questions. I went back in and I tweaked my slides. I changed a whole bunch of stuff. I moved things around. I changed the order. I shared case studies that would help strengthen positionings. I tried to answer all the questions people had, and then after I did that, then that was like 4 hours later. I had the webinar, so I'm going as fast as I can. The webinar happens. I get on. We had less people on that webinar. I did the webinar, and then when we closed it, we did $120,000 in sales on the live webinar, 4 times as much from a couple tweaks. When that webinar was over, I was like, "Holy crap, we made way more money. Hey, export all the questions. Let's find out what people are stuck at." Exported the questions. I read them all, came back, tweaked my slides. 3 days later, another presentation, boom, did 150 grand in sales. And exported the questions, and I've done the webinar live probably, 40 or 50 times. Every time I export the questions and I change my slides. So this is the living, breathing thing that's always changing and always evolving. If I would have done one automated webinar and then just used that, I would have left millions and millions of dollars on the line. So there's a long rant to tell you to do your webinars live the first time, right? So I do the webinar live on Wednesday. When it's done, then I transition over and we say to instead of going directly like, "Hey, there's another replay," because the problem is like a lot of people get on the webinar and then they're waiting for a replay, and so they never show up. And I will always make more money if they show up, okay? And so I need them to show up. So what we do is we try to train them. And the webinar's over and say, "Hey, webinar is amazing. A ton of people want, are interested in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a live encore. I don't say live. So we're going to do an encore webinar this Friday at the exact same time. You need to be on it." Okay. So then we promote that Thursday. Say, "Hey, Friday's webinar." So have them go re-register. So re-register, get some of the videos. Send them again on Friday morning, and then Friday an hour before, "Hey, webinar's happening." And now we got all these people re-engaged in the sequence, re-watching the videos, and now a huge percentage show up. They didn't show up the first time because they're like, "Man, this was so good. I missed it. The encore's happening," so they came with the encore, and then we sell them again. Now this time on the Friday webinar, I do not do those ones live. I take the recording from the earlier Wednesday webinar, and then we replay that. And for us to use GoToWebinar, so we replay it through GoToWebinar, and that's how we do the Friday webinar. Okay, there's people you can hire out. There's a couple different companies that will they'll log into your GoToWebinar account, they'll record your Wednesday webinar, and they'll go and they'll push play on a video, and it looks like it's live. People have no idea that it's not live because it looks live, and I have my entire staff logged into GoToWebinar answering Q&A during the webinar, and so it makes it seem very, very live, and usually we'll get not quite as many, but almost as many sales from the Friday webinar as we do the Wednesday webinar. Then when the Friday one's over, now we transition into like our into like a replay they can go watch online. So Saturday morning they get an email for a replay. Then Sunday morning they get email for the replay. Plus what we do is we print out the cliff notes of the webinar, which is basically we take a screenshot of every one of the slides and we have some text that kind of explains, like kind of they can read through the webinar. And I have it in big PDFs, like a 70-page PDF. So I'm like, here's the replay, but if you're in a rush, print out the cliff notes right now and go read these because this offer's going away tonight at midnight. Like you need to go, here's the cliff notes, read it really, really quick. And then Sunday we do one more email 6 hours before we close the cart, which gives them the replay, gives them the cliff notes, plus gives them urgency and scarcity. Now I don't know what it is about humans, but if we don't have urgency and scarcity, half the times we won't ever move. We get about a third of our sales in the last 6 hours every single time. And it comes from us saying 6 hours left and this offer disappears forever. If you want ClickFunnels for free for a year, you've got 6 hours, go. And people all of a sudden are good at making decisions when something's about to disappear. And that right there is the sequence we take them through. So that's what I call the perfect webinar funnel. Now again, this is based on a joint venture partner emailing their list or us emailing list, right? They're sending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 emails, which may seem like a lot. Some people will never send you 10 emails. Some people will. So we try to get that. And they're like, I'm not going to do 10 emails. I'm like, okay, how about you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then let's do a Thursday and the Sunday, whatever it is, right? I get as many as I can out of them because the more they get, the more money they'll make, the more money we'll make. Okay, now I want to give you guys an idea of how much more money you can make with this. So I've done the webinar with the Funnel Hacks webinar with Mike Philsame 3 times in the last 8 months. First time we did like 150 grand. Second time we did like, I don't know, 80 or 90 grand. But it was like 3 months later. I'm like, obviously, everyone who bought it's already going to buy. And then we did it one more time like last month. And last month we said, let's follow this process to a T. So we mapped it out. We did it. On the webinar live, we did $80,000 live. And then through the whole sequence, when it was all said and done, we ended up doing $250,000 in total sales. So we more than doubled our sales from the webinar through this replay sequence. Okay, so was it worth it? Heck yes, it was worth it, right? So it's awesome. Now, some of you guys may not have JV partners or emailing, so you may say, how's this work for me? Same process. I'd be driving Facebook ads Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to the registration page. And then Thursday, Friday, I changed the message to webinar was amazing, encore replay happening here. And I changed my Facebook ads to here. Saturday, Sunday. And I also have some registers here, then the email sequence internally is going through and pushing people to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so that's kind of how we do it. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let me show you, I think I might have found the 3 indoctrination pages. Let me see if I can pull them up real quick. So we're doing this process with Jay Boyer on Thursday, so a couple days. And this is the sequence he is following. We did this webinar with him a couple months ago, and he's doing it again. And my guess is it'll do amazing. All right, cool. So registration, boom, boom, boom. So this will be, obviously 53% conversion rate on the landing page. Told you what, this curiosity-based web registration pages work like crazy. Okay, let me see if this is the right page. I think it is. All right, cool. This is the right one. So it's just loading here. Okay, so these are the videos. After the register, I send out these 3 videos here in a row. So this is video number 1. All right, and I kind of went, sometimes I get thematic, is that the right word? Dramatic. I get all excited, so we do these high production videos. You don't have to do these. Most of our students just do iPhone videos, but we filmed this whole thing in the Octagon. It was really fun, right? So video number 1 was the anatomy of a $500,000 a month sales funnel. Video number 2 is how to design your funnel, and video number 3 is how to build your funnel in 10 minutes. Okay, so I kind of do similar like a product launch if you have seen product launches before. So the first day they get video number 1, hey, here's the anatomy of a $500,000 a month funnel. So they get to watch this video. It's kind of fun and entertaining, so they're not bored. And kind of just,
they should try out.
And this is where I show the funnel, and I just kind of, they see that process, right? A couple things else I do. I'm reminding them, hey, the webinar's happening here. Don't forget your free ClickFunnels account. Here's the 3 secrets. So I have these other things on the page as well. Just keep reminding them that this is happening. But that's kind of, that's page number 1, right? Then the next day they get video number 2, which is right here. Okay, this is when I talk about how to design your funnel. Okay, so it starts in the Octagon back here with these guys.
Okay, so
and then I come here to the office and actually we map out a funnel together, me and Mandy. and gets them all excited. So now I see, here's the funnel. So I show them how to design their funnel. So now they're like, oh, cool, now how to design a funnel. Okay. And then video number 3 now is then I show, so the whole point is I was trying to show, like, here's Chris, who's like a really good designer. Here's Mandy, who's like an author, who's never designed anything. And Mandy was able to beat Chris in how fast to build their sales funnel. Like, she built her whole funnel in time. He started like halfway through the landing page, which is kind of fun. And then we transition, and then I do a demo on ClickFunnels. Okay, so you see how like those 3 videos just gets them excited about ClickFunnels and the webinar and what's happening, all those kind of things. And that's kind of the point of these, is just to get people excited so they're going to actually want to show up on the webinar. Okay, and again, everything on the page around here is, here's your ticket again. Webinar's happening in 2 days. Write down these steps. Here's a video talking about what ClickFunnels is. And so it gets them more and more excited. So when they show up at the webinar, I'm like, how many of you guys know what ClickFunnels is? Half people are like, oh, I signed up yesterday. Oh, I just found out about ClickFunnels. And a lot of times it's funny, like, they don't even remember that, like, I'm the one that told them to sign up, but they're like, oh, I heard about that somewhere the other day. It's like, yeah, on the emails I sent out to you about talking about ClickFunnels, which is kind of fun. Okay, now one more metric I want to share with you guys on this to kind of hopefully drive this whole thing home. So when we launched this webinar initially, and again, we've gone from, ClickFunnels, when we first started trying to sell ClickFunnels, we did a big product launch around it, and it completely bombed. We had, way less signups than I thought. I was kind of embarrassed. And so for about 2 months, I was just like depressed. I'm like, we spent like millions of dollars building ClickFunnels. Like, I know it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but nobody's buying. Like, what's wrong? And luckily, my friend Mike Philsame was like, hey man, I want you to come to my event and sell ClickFunnels. And I was like, I can't sell, like, we have free trial. Nobody's even buying it, man. Like, I don't get it. And he's like, I don't care. I got you on the docket. People are planning and you speaking on ClickFunnels. You got to figure it out, and you have to sell something for $1,000. And I was like, oh man. And I literally didn't even start my presentation until his event started. I was still in Boise, Idaho. His event started in San Diego, and they were streaming it live online. So I had it on one of my monitors. I'm watching this thing, right? And then, so I'm watching the webinar happen, or the live event. So this is like Friday. So it's Friday I started my presentation. I'm flying out Saturday morning, and I speak Saturday afternoon. And so like, I started this process the same way you guys should start it. I opened up the perfect webinar script, opened my PowerPoints, and I started filling the blanks. I'm literally watching the event happen live while I'm like filling in the PowerPoints here. It took me about a day to get this whole thing, like a hard day, because I was working really hard to get it all done. Put the whole thing together, jumped in a plane the next morning, flew to San Diego, got up on stage, gave the presentation, just followed my own template, didn't even deviate, just followed it to a T, and we closed 38% of the room, and it just worked. And I went through the process I kind of told you guys about. And it's been less than a year since that. It's 2 months from when that webinar happens. And that webinar has taken ClickFunnels from being this tiny little company to we're doing over $1 million a month right now, and soon we'll be at about $2 million a month. It's just growing really, really rapidly, and it all came off this webinar, 100%. Now what happens is a percentage of people will come into this funnel, they watch the webinar, and then they buy. But what we found is for every single person who buys live on the webinar, 3 people sign up for the trial. And so while not everybody buys on the webinar, a huge percentage are joining our continuity program and now paying us monthly to be in there. And so it's just grown the residuals of our business as well. And so if you look at that as a whole, I'm not telling this to brag, I'm telling you guys to inspire you that like one webinar can change your life. I remember when I was growing up in this whole marketing world, I read a thing from Gary Halbert. He said that one idea properly exploited while walking. One idea you have while walking on a beach, properly exploited, can make more money than 10 lifetimes of hard work. He also said that you're only one sales letter away from being rich. And I'm a big believer in that, like with webinars. Like one webinar can change your life. Like it has for me. One webinar and it has changed my life, changed my family's life, changed my team's life, changed my entire focus in life because it worked, because it inspires people, it gets them to take action. If you do it the right way, it's not like something like you're selling something. Like people love it. They love being inspired and getting ideas. And when you shatter their belief patterns, now they're like, wow, like this is like I can actually do this now. Like you are changing people's lives, and the result from that is the money that you're able to make on the backside of it. So I just want to stress that that's why I came on this. I know what Joel is doing is powerful. I've seen what he's done with other clients, and it's been fun watching him. I know what is done for my company. I know what it can do for your guys' company. And that's why I came volunteering my time. I'm not making any money off this. I just want to share this with you guys because if you do this, you can become financially free. And it's worth studying. It's worth figuring out how to create the perfect webinar. It's worth doing tons and tons of tests. It's worth embarrassing yourself on stage for 10 years. And hopefully you won't have to do that because I've given you guys, a new starting point, but it's worth it. One good idea properly exploited is worth more than 10 lifetimes of hard work. And I believe that, and it's true with this webinar. So I hope that was beneficial for you guys. I hope you enjoyed what I shared in the last 2 hours. And I want to thank Joel for letting me be part of this and hanging out with you guys today. It was a lot of fun.
Ross, thank you so much, man. That was just jam-packed, full of like valuable content. Like literally, guys, people pay, Russell and other marketing gurus like tens of thousands of dollars to map out what Russell is showing you right here on this screen. And it's completely worth it because, like, if you're generating $80,000, $150,000 from one replay from one webinar, like, it's completely worth it. So, Russ, thank you so much, man, for taking the time. And I just want to give you a big thank you. And I know everyone that's on board right now, they've been loving the content. So, thanks a lot, man. I do appreciate it.
Very cool. No worries, man. I appreciate it.